Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Remember to like and subscribe so your character will be too angry to die next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building the unstoppable killing machine and mascot of the franchise of today's big video game release, Isabelle from Animal Crossing. What? It's Doomslayer? Ugh. Fine, but I'm not happy about it. Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need an arsenal big enough to make us a one-man army against the forces of hell. Next, we'll make sure that we've got some extra thick armor. I'm talking a minimum of 3 Cs on that thick. Finally, we'll get a way to release all of our rage that works with our weapons or our bare hands. I guess it's not our bare hands, but it's just as fun with a glove on and much safer for multiple encounters. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just make sure your strength and charisma are good to go. Constitution will actually be our top stat. Hell hath no fury like, well, hell. Strength after that, your muscles are able to turn a demon into a 4-piece combo that could feed a family of 5, as long as you spring for some sides. Charisma next, you're not a great conversationalist, but you're intimidating as hell to the legions of hell. That's gotta count for something. Follow that up with intelligence. You need to know your enemy before you can blow your enemy up. Dexterity is a bit on the low end despite your beefy armor. You've got some great movement abilities. We just need other stuff more, and we'll dump wisdom. You have literal and figurative tunnel vision thanks to your helmet and anger problems. Is it really a problem though? I feel like it's pretty justified when your bosses are just like, sorry bruh, thought we could sell some hell artifacts and get money. Who knew that would be a bad thing? For a race, you're the personification of rage created to destroy demons. I think that means halfling, but we'll go with Scourge Aasimar because it lets us bump our DPS up later. You get +2 charisma and +1 constitution, 60 feet of dark vision, celestial resistance to resist necrotic and radiant damage, the light bearer ability for the light cantrip, which is redundant because of the dark vision, but whatever. You get healing hands, letting you restore an amount of health equal to your total level as an action. You heal yourself when you pull demons' entrails out, so just use this after you do that to get a heal. Doomslayer can have a little healing, as a treat. For your background, we need Arcana and Religion. There isn't really a background for 300 pounds of pissed off in a 200-pound meat sack, so just build your own. Before we get started, let's talk about what we're not doing, specifically a barbarian. If you want to get really mad about that, I don't care. It's actually good for the YouTube algorithm, so yell at me in the comments, that's fine. But the reason we're not doing it is because your armor is pretty clearly heavy, and you can't rage while you're in heavy armor. Rage also doesn't give any bonuses to ranged weapons other than thrown weapons, but you're not really throwing stuff other than grenades, and grenades are more likely to be a fireball or other similar spell. You also can't cast spells while raging, which means that if we did want grenades, missiles, or something like that, we wouldn't be able to get it from a spell. We'd have to find a way to do a ton of AoE fire damage with a melee attack, which doesn't really happen in D&D. Also worth noting, barbarians don't have a monopoly on being angry. Plenty of other classes can be angry, just like plenty of other classes can be good at reading books like a wizard, or be religiously connected like a cleric. These are all just personality traits. They can go with any class. We'll kick things off as a fighter. First level fighters can choose 2 skills from the fighter list. Athletics and intimidation will make you the soldier you were literally made to be. For your fighting style, unarmed fighting from the class feature variants Unearthed Arcana lets you make unarmed attacks that deal 1d6 damage or 1d8 damage with 2 free hands. You can deal 1d4 when you grapple someone and add that damage to attacks you make against grappled creatures. Grip it and rip it. As long as the it is, a demon. If your DM doesn't like Unearthed Arcana, just grab defense for a +1 bonus to your AC while you're wearing armor. You also get Second Wind, letting you heal 1d10 plus your fighter level as a bonus action once per short rest. Doomslayer can have a little healing, as a treat. Second level fighters get Action Surge, letting you make 2 actions in 1 turn once per short rest. I recommend a little combo called grab them by the throat and punch their face until it falls off their body. See, what you do is you grab them by the throat and then you punch their face until it falls off their body. I'm realizing now that that name is pretty self-explanatory. Third level fighters can choose a martial archetype. The Rune Knight is still in Unearthed Arcana beta testing, so if your DM doesn't like Unearthed Arcana, go for Champion. It's boring, but it gets the job done, just like a game without interesting and new subclasses. But Rune Knights get Rune Magic, letting you imbue giant energy into your weapons, armors, and shields. The Hill Rune gives you resistance to poison damage and advantage on saves against being poisoned, and once per short rest, you can use a bonus action to give yourself resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage for a minute. It's like Rage, but you'll still be able to use spells, which might be important later. Who knows? The Frost Rune gives you advantage on animal handling and intimidation checks, and you can give yourself a +2 to your strength score for 10 minutes as a bonus action once per short rest, which will help you make hell a living hell for the denizens of Hell, if all that wasn't enough, Giant Might increases your size to large, gives you advantage on strength checks and saves, and lets you add a d6 to the damage of your weapon attacks for a minute twice per long rest. This basically makes you a barbarian, but with the ability to wear heavy armor. And if all of that wasn't enough, as a Scourge Aasimar, you also get Radiant Consumption, making creatures within 10 feet of you take half your level in Radiant damage, and letting you add your level in Radiant damage to one attack per round, which will kind of give you a laser sword thing. You can also add that to spell attacks, but we don't have any spells. Or do we? 4th level fighters get an ability score improvement, bump your strength for now. It's sort of your main method of putting the hurt on. It also lets you throw full plate armor on because you need 15 strength to do that effectively. 5th level fighters get an extra attack, letting you attack twice instead of once with your action. Currently your best option here is punches, but we really need some guns, and I don't think crossbows are going to cut it this time. For one, we'd need another feat or 2 levels into Artificer if we want to make multiple attacks with a crossbow in the same round thanks to the loading property. There's also the issue of your guns being more involved than pew pew, it's more like blam blam. So for some blam, we're going to need some spells, and we're going to grab a few of them from a few different sources. Blam number 1 will be from Warlock, specifically a Hexblade Warlock, because you were made to be a weapon, even if the source is a little more divine rather than spoopy. Hexblades get Hexblade's Curse, letting you pick an enemy to absolutely destroy for a minute, adding your proficiency bonus to damage rolls, critting them with a 19 or a 20, and you get to recover health equal to your Warlock level and Charisma modifier when you reduce them to 0 HP. Doomslayer can have a little healing as a treat. Like your Warlock spells, this recharges on a short rest, and hey, speaking of Warlock spells, from the Hexblade list, Wrathful Strike lets you add a d6 of psychic damage to your next weapon attack and force a wisdom save of 8 plus your proficiency bonus and charisma modifier on a creature you hit. Failing that, they're frightened of you for up to a minute depending on your concentration. And your concentration is pretty good. Constitution is tied for your best stat at the moment. Shield is also on the Hexblade list, letting you add 5 to your AC as a reaction until the start of your next turn. With full plate, that makes your AC 23 for a round, which is tricky for even the nastiest of demons to get through. But where's the blam blam? Eldritch Blast is a cantrip that fires beams, dealing 1d10 force damage on a hit, and at this level you can fire 2 of them. Remember, cantrips scale with your total level, not your class level, so you don't need a ton of investment to get arguably a much better heavy crossbow, just a metal tube to be your spellcasting focus and you're good. But to be even better, grab another level of Warlock for some invocations, which are basically some easy ways to upgrade that shotgun. Agonizing Blast lets you add your charisma modifier to the damage of your Eldritch Blast beams, and Repelling Blast lets you push enemies back 10 feet when you hit them with an Eldritch Blast for a satisfying shotgun blam. That isn't quite enough though, as in addition to blams, you've got lasers, and there's no better place to get those than Sorcerer. We'll go for Divine Soul Sorcerer, as you were divinely crafted to kill demons, and it lets us take cleric spells like Sacred Flame, which forces a dexterity saving throw on a creature. Failing that, they take 2d8 radiant damage, and you get to ignore cover, which is nice. Firebolt is a little more of a fire cannon, dealing 2d10 fire damage. Honestly though, unless something is weak to fire or radiant, just use Eldritch Blast. It adds your charisma modifier to the damage, pushes stuff, and can target multiple enemies. Guiding Bolt is a first level spell that has some benefits, dealing 4d6 radiant damage on a hit, and the next attack roll against the creature is made with advantage, so you'll be able to rip them to shreds next turn. Jump triples the jump distance of a creature you touch for a minute. The terrain of Mars is very uneven. Sometimes you've got to bounce around. Of course, you're also favored by the gods, letting you add 2d4 to a failed attack roll or saving throw. I have a feeling whatever created you really wanted you to open up some vacancy at Hotel Hell. Probably worth mentioning that multiclassing with Warlock and Sorcerer basically means you've got the same number of slots you would have if you didn't multiclass, but you get to use your Warlock slots to cast Sorcerer spells and vice versa. Second level Sorcerers get sorcery points they can use to recover spell slots or to do some cool things thanks to the class feature variants Unearthed Arcana. You can power up a weapon with Imbuing Touch, making it magical for a minute in terms of overcoming resistances, though it's worth pointing out that this will not work on your fists. You could use it on a longsword though, maybe call it a reflavored chainsaw. Nothing in the text says that you're not wrapping a super fast chain around the weapon to make it magical. There's also Empowered Reserves, letting you give yourself advantage on one skill check, or Sorceress Fortitude to give a d4 of temporary HP for every sorcery point you spend if you need a little extra durability. For this level spell, Cure Wounds heals a creature 1d8 plus your charisma modifier. Doomslayer can have a little healing as a treat. Third level sorcerers get meta magic, letting you spend sorcery points to augment your spells. Empowered spell lets you reroll a number of damage die equal to your charisma modifier on spells you cast, and distance spell doubles the range of a spell so you can shoot really far. You can also learn second level spells. Scorching Ray shoots 3 fireballs that deal 2d6 fire damage each. You can aim them at one or multiple targets, up to you when you cast the spell. Rapid fire can be helpful for crowd control, but it's also nice in a boss fight. Fourth level sorcerers get another ability score improvement. More strength means better punches. We'll just keep going until it's capped. Wrestling Hellspawn requires the strength of the rock. For this level spell, let's just scoop up Thunder Wave from the first level, forcing a Constitution saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot cube in front of you, dealing 2d8 thunder damage to those that fail and pushing them back 10 feet, half damage and no pushing if they succeed, for a nice little AoE shotgun blast. 5th level sorcerers can learn 3rd level spells, and Fireball is a big effin' gun, forcing a dexterity saving throw on creatures in a 20-foot radius, dealing 8d6 fire damage to those that fail and half to those that succeed. Honestly, your other spells aren't really scaling in damage nearly as well as just attacking or even Eldritch Blast, but this one's worth the investment. 6th level Divine Soul sorcerers get Empowered Healing, letting you spend a sorcery point to reroll any die that are used to heal a creature within 5 feet of you. Say it with me, folks. Doomslayer can have a little healing as a treat. For this level spell, haste doubles the movement speed of a creature you touch, gives them +2 to their AC, advantage on dexterity saves, and an extra action they can use to make one more attack, dash, disengage, use an object, or hide. I say a creature because that's what the spell says, but I mean you. Use it on yourself to do the work of 2 Doomslayers. You'll be fast and furious after that. Now that we've got enough guns, let's get back to beating things up and making Doomslayer the super strong guy that he is. 6th level fighters get another ability score improvement. We can use this to cap off our strength and actually break past the standard cap thanks to that Frost Giant rune for 22 strength for a little bit each day. 7th level Rune Knights get defensive runes, letting you give an ally a bonus to their AC equal to 1 plus your intelligence modifier as a reaction, so just 2, but there's no limit to how many times you can do this, provided you don't want to save that reaction for throttling a demon that's running away from you. You can also pick up another rune. The Storm rune prevents you from being surprised while you're awake and gives you advantage on Arcana checks if you're curious what a monster is weak to or something. You can also spend a bonus action to enter a prophetic state for a minute, letting you use your reaction to give a creature advantage or disadvantage on an attack roll. Again though, I get it if you just kind of want to mess up a demon that runs away from you. 8th level fighters get another ability score improvement. I'm going to recommend some more charisma. Your constitution is strong already at +3. You've got proficiency with the saving throws since we kicked this off as a fighter. I just want to make sure that your shotgun Eldritch Blast can hit nice and hard. 9th level fighters get Indomitable, letting you re-roll failed saving throws once per long rest. Did you know that death saving throws are saving throws? It's true. Use this and you can be too angry to die, just like Isabel. 10th level Rune Knights get Great Stature, adding 3d4 inches to your height, and extra damage to your giant might bumps up to a d8 rather than a d6. For this level's rune, honestly, I think we're kind of covered, but Cloud Rune gives you advantage on sleight of hand checks and deception checks, and you can use your reaction to move an attack that would hit a creature within 30 feet of you to a different creature within 30 feet of you, as long as it isn't the creature making that attack. I guess you could bamboozle some Hellspawn with it. I don't know. I just want a Great Stature. 11th level fighters get another extra attack. This is actually another reason we had to invest this much into fighter, and you get to pick up that extra rune on the way, so you might as well. This means 3 attacks per round, or 4 with haste, or 7 with action surge and haste. You're a busy guy. You've got a lot to get done. Our capstone is the 12th level of fighter. Get your charisma as high as possible. Yes, I thought about the Warcaster feat and the tough feat. No, I don't really want them. Your melee attacks are fine for opportunity attacks, and you're pretty bulky. You've got decent constitution already. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, no matter the location, you'll end the damnation with big damage up front and big damage from a distance. You also don't really need to worry about resistances, as you can make weapons magical with your imbuing touch, or your shotgun Eldritch Blast being magical because it's a spell. Finally, you're thick with plate mail armor and over 150 HP to keep you safe from the hordes of hell. For weaknesses, dexterity saves are pretty common and you're bad at them in your big effin' armor. So are wisdom saves, and it looks like you skimped out on those as well. Hopefully you don't mind being paralyzed or charmed. Finally, you've got limited ammo and your biggest, baddest weapon, not to mention the fact that most fiends resist or are fully immune to fire damage. But who knows if this campaign is even going to fight fiends? If doom is on the horizon, you're the one to slay it. Though, honestly, I might just start looking for new horizons if I were you. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Also, subscribe to Tulok and Mango, where we don't play Doom because I'm really bad at first-person shooters, but we do play other games. That could be fun to watch.